أولنا محمد أوسطنا محمد آخرنا محمد صل على محمد آخرنا محمد صل على محمد.
مو عجب تزهر الأرض وانت ساكن ثراها،
الله يا طه.
مو عجب يختفي القمر من تنور دجاها،
الله يا طه.
مو عجب تخجل الشمس وانت ماحي ضياها.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. I thank Allah for giving me this opportunity to be here in Assalam among very good people, people who have good hearts, people who are God conscious generally, people who want to submit to the truth, people who want to bring harmony, people who want to live in harmony. I feel truly blessed to be in such circles. And inshallah in this dialogue we'll try to sort of give some clarity to some of the important issues that we need to keep in mind when we challenge ourselves to achieve higher stations in this world and in the next. The subject here is, of course, achieving higher education with the help of the deen called Islam. So let me introduce briefly what my opinion is with regards to this pursuit of knowledge. First and foremost, know that religion is not separate from sciences. You know, when I go to universities, particularly Islamic institutions, they tell me there's secular education, then there's Islamic education. While there's truth to that, but what they mean is more advanced focus on Islam, which is less focused in the sciences. There is no science, there is no physics, there is no mathematics where religion is lacking. Those are all foundations of religion. Those are all principles of religion. So there's really no such thing as total secularism. Everything has the presence of God. Okay? There is no place, as we use the word in English, where God is not, and we say God is ubiquitous. He's everywhere. So our obligation as sentient, intelligent beings who are under a period of trial on this earth, there is never a moment where one can say that I am not within the trial system at this moment, but then when I enter that room, my trial begins. There's no such thing. It's a 24/7 endeavor from birth to death. That's why the Prophet said, "Utlub al-ilm min al-mahd ila al-lahd." Acquire knowledge from the cradle to the grave, for there is no time when the divine knowledge and scientific knowledge is free from us. Having said that, I think it's very important for us to understand that if we do not traverse at the moral level in every endeavor we have, then really it's a body with no head, if you want to use that analogy. So for example, if we were to say that we are going to focus a lot on academic achievements or career orientation where we're going to be number one in the world in some field, let's say in medicine, specialization in neurosurgery, for example, and you're recognized as the best neurosurgeon in the world. That's great. There's plenty of benefit there, and I know that the people who need those kinds of services are benefiting from such expertise. But we have to admit that an individual who's got such acumen but lacks moral consciousness is not a complete individual. It's once again a body without a head. So the question we have to ask is, then what is the fundamental, essential nature of the human existence? And I've used many examples before in my lectures that a God-conscious person or upright moral individual, and here by the way my argument is that we have humans who are even atheists, and they are sort of moral. They have a conscience. They do abstain from indulging in the generic evil acts. But true morality cannot be achieved without a divine being. It's impossible. There are basic foundations. If you really understand it, you will notice that without God and without His system by which to engage within God, then morality that is being professed is not the complete form. It's got parts of truth in it, but it's not the complete form. Now, what we find here is that in Dar es Salaam, our community was established, a long time ago, over a century ago. Our forefathers came from India, many of us. Those of us who are not, in other words, those of us who are from the Khoja community. And our forefathers were believers in other religions before. Some say that we were Hindus before. Some say we were Ismailis before. I know we were Ismailis before, if not Ashari, many of us. And our forefathers were actually leaders in the Ismaili community. And then they, changed their school of thought. And they established themselves within this community. And part of their goal was to ensure that this migration into distant land called Africa, particularly Tanzania, was that however we assimilate or merge within the social fabric of Tanzania, we must not forget our moral roots, our religion, etc., etc. So we made sure that we maintained our mosques and our Hussainiyas, and we kept our rituals consistent. And that's good. That's wonderful. I think that's important. The danger is when we keep rituals without understanding why we're keeping the rituals. That's when it becomes very dangerous. While we may be doing the right thing, it will slowly veer away from the right thing, and it'll become a very wrong thing while we think we're keeping the right thing. I'll give you one extreme example. I was in Trinidad. Trinidad is the Caribbean islands, south of the United States. And I went and visited the Jose. The Jose, as you know, is a carnival that is done in Trinidad. It's called Trinidad and Tobago. And what was interesting was that when I went to see it, it was called the Jose. And it's a very big carnival. Tens of thousands of people come. And it's a huge event. Huge. And the calypso, I don't know if you're familiar with drums, but there's a calypso kind of music that the Caribbean people play. It's got this very rhythmic grrr, 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 like that, It's called the calypso. And so it's all part of that. And they start playing the calypso the day before Ashura. And what's interesting is the Jose follows the lunar calendar. So it's always on Ashura. Interesting. And Indians, Hindus from around the world, some big shots even come there because they have these chokes. They call them chokes, as you know, are little valleys or alleys, streets, little blocks and corners. And each one has a sarcophagus. Sarcophagus in English is dari. So we take the dari and design these as if it's the tomb of one of our imams. And they make it very ornate, ornate and incredible design. They use styrofoam, and these experts come and they build this massive, some of them are like half the size of this room, And there's a sponsor, each one sponsors, and then they go out on the carnival and they display their daris. And if you ask them, even the Shia in the community, they'll say, well, Hassa killed Husa. I said, who's Hassa? I said, the brother of Husa. I said, is that why you do this? He said, yeah, this day Hassa killed Husa. So Ashura in Muharram, 10th day of Muharram, Hassa killed Husa in Trinidad. Where did it happen? Oh, it happened in the Middle East. So there are two half moons. It's a Qamar Bani Hashim. So they've plucked out all some of these elements of the Islamic symbolisms, and they've made it into a carnival. And to my shock, I saw our sisters from our community wearing mini skirts, holding whiskey bottles and dancing. So I asked the brother, I said, who are they? He says, oh, that's the daughter of the sponsor. I said, the sponsor is our brother. He said, yeah, those are his daughters. I realized, oh wow. When tradition lacks meaning, it veers into something very, very dangerous. So I advise us all here to always validate, what am I doing, why am I doing it, what's its value? It may be very valuable, but please understand why we do it. So when I was talking to that audience, I said, you know that there is Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein? They said, yeah, it sounds like that. You know, it's Salat time. I said, let's go pray. They said, pray? We don't pray. So we led prayers and we taught them how to pray. I'm thinking, wow, these people came 100 years ago from India. They started this julus. This was the julus, but there was no meaning to it. So it got absorbed by the carnival system. And on Ashura day, you have this cyclical thing happening. They're innocent. We can't blame anybody. We cannot point fingers at them and say that God will punish them. But you see the danger of ignorance, especially in migration. So let me conclude in this matter, that here, while we're living as Muslims, many a times we live in cocoons, wrapped up in some kind of a ritualistic system, thinking we're protected. And sadly, there is no place in the world that I have seen that doesn't have a parallel life, what we call the dark life, running within the system. We have sisters and brothers who appear very pious in the public, but in the back they have another lifestyle. This is the social component of maintaining dignity within the community, and then they have their real selves in another world. And they have a group of those. It's not only here, it's everywhere. And the reason is because we're living double lives, because we're lying to ourselves and we haven't understood the real value of our religion. So we don't know what to do with it, so we split our personality into two and we become two creatures. Be very careful with that. Now, if one of us here, and I would, few of us, and I've seen it by the way, get accepted to an American university or a European university, and you leave Dar es Salaam, are we able to manage that cultural shock? Some of us cannot handle the culture shock. It's very different. And this is why I advise us all that, when I come and speak, sometimes I sit with the youth one-on-one. It's a very open idea. It's a nice dialogue. And you can see they're willing to open up and they want to go into uncharted territory to talk about things that are generally taboo. But they've been told, don't go there because you may lose your faith. So live in a cocoon, in a bubble, because God forbid you may go astray. Haram, But Shaitan says, that's the kind of person I like. The one who's got no immunity. The one who lives in a bubble. Because the minute he comes out of the bubble, I kill him. I'll infect him so quickly, he won't know what to do. So a true believer does not live like that. A true believer is acutely aware of the dangers that lie and loom within our community and outside of our community, such that were they to be displaced into another part of the world, they will have no problem defending themselves. I had a group of brothers who came to America, and I didn't know who they were. They got accepted into an Ivy school. And there's a brother who was born in America who was not religious, who became very religious and pious, enlightened. Family wasn't very pious, but on his own, he took the mantle of Islam on his own shoulders. And he said, to my shock, I was so happy that these two brothers who came from Africa were going to be part of my circle, and I found them drinking alcohol and clubbing and doing everything outside of the norms of morality. Because they felt so deprived. One. Two, they didn't understand the dynamics of, haqq and batil. They didn't understand the dynamics of wajib and haram. It was just rote memorization, like a tape recorder. They couldn't apply it. So I advise us all here, get into dialogue. Sometimes I notice when somebody has a dissident idea or an idea that's different, many of us take this caution, be careful of this guy, he's dangerous, he's got dangerous ideas. And that's human nature. We always want to protect each other. We always want to be careful. But let's not close our eyes each time like ostriches, when there's danger, we put our heads into the sand. Let's face the bull by the horns and figure it out. I remember when I first debated Dan Barker A few of the scholars came to me and says, you sure you want to debate? I said, no, I don't want to debate, but I have to. He says, you know, you may lose. I said, good. The atheist may win. Good. Then he's right. He deserves it. You know, some guy who's stronger than you can punch you in a boxing ring. He deserves the belt. Yeah, but then Islam is in danger. I said, really? Since when was Islam dependent on me? I said, I'm dependent on Islam. And if I cannot have the strength to defend the oneness of God, then I should not be a Muslim. Astaghfirullah. When I was a teenager, I used to read the Bible. Good people in our community told my father, your son is reading the Bible. It's dangerous. So my father is pretty easygoing. He said, oh really, why? He may become Christian. Astaghfirullah. So my mother would smile. She said, it's okay, we live in a Christian land. Don't you think we should know what they think? How are we going to interact with them if we don't know what their religion is? And why are we so scared? To flip it the other way, when the Christians would come to my house and they say, you know, you have a disease, you're a Muslim, you have a disease. I said, you're right, I do. And you're my doctor. Now, when you study medicine, you study the disease. Have you studied my disease? They look at me with Bibles under their armpits and they said, no. I said, let me give you my disease, 1 second. So I bring the Quran and I give it to them. It's here. This is my disease. Go study it and come and cure me. No, we can't read this. We've been told not to read this. I said, but I'm sick. And you are caring. You came to my house to cure me. Read this, figure out all my diseases, and then come and cure me. Because I'm sick. And by the way, I've read your disease. And you know what? While I disagree with it, you're a good person, and I don't condemn you to hell. I have hope for you. And I can dialogue with you, and I can tell you what you say in your Bible that is right, and I'll tell you what is wrong. Not to convince you right or wrong, but you're my brother in humanity, and I feel it's my obligation, the same as you, that I should reciprocate your kindness by me returning it by telling you what I think you could do to become a better person. Now, if I didn't read those things, and if I didn't understand it, and if I didn't expand my vision, and I lived in a little bubble like them, coming to my door telling me, don't read that book, it's haram and this and that, then we're no different. We're two ignorant people clashing. And that's how ISIS clashes with extremist Christians. We should not promote that religion. The religion of Islam is to go to the core level and say, the mercy of God has allowed diversity to exist. Diverse cultures to exist. How do I adopt them? How do I adapt to them? And how do I selectively choose the good from the bad? And it's not only in the Western world. You could go to a Muslim country and be infected with so many diseases of shaitan. But I'll tell you, at the Kaaba is where the real devil lies. Go to Medina and see. It's nice, but the devils are everywhere. So don't think that, in America, somebody says, you pray in America? I came here 18 years ago, somebody said, you pray in America? I said, Alhamdulillah. There is Allah there? I said, Alhamdulillah. I didn't say anything. I said, if you can ask me such a question, where do I start and where do I end? What do I tell you? Like, if you haven't figured that out, let's not have a dialogue. So what I'm saying is, when I present it, and by the way, when that scholar told me, are you sure you want to? I said, well, you're the scholar, you studied in the house, why don't you do it? Because our kids are going astray now. I'm not here to convince Dan Barker that he's wrong. I'm here to convince my community that he's wrong. And that we have the best religion in the world. And let's not be afraid. And let's stand on the pulpits in the world and show them the power of Tawheed, which is foolproof. And I asked Allah, I said, Allah, strengthen my iman through these atheists. Let them expose the ugliness of the other side so that my iman gets stronger. And if it's not, then maybe that is where you want me to be. That openness has helped me a lot. So I advise us all to please be open, have a vision, be willing to accept diverse ideas. And the irony is when I speak sometimes, I've had atheists send me messages, thank you for being gentle with us, because theists are usually very vicious against us. I don't agree with viciousness. Islam has never, promoted the idea that when a person disbelieves in God, you should condemn him and, vilify them and call them bad names. That's not Islam. Islam says, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah." Invite them with wisdom, wal maw'idatil hasana, good exhortation, gentle, logic, no condemnation. But sadly, within our communities, we're so ritualistic, we're afraid even to indulge in it. And lest you mention even a word that is taboo, oh, you said that word, Ya Allah. I said, yeah, that's the lingo over there. Get ready. Because you're going to have a culture shock if you're going to come there. And if you don't know how to defend it, you're going to fall apart. So, in conclusion, inshallah we'll do a Q&A shortly. In conclusion, I would say that learn the principles of Islam. What's the driving engine of God? How does the mercy of God work? What about all these other religions? What happens to them? Let's not have a black and white pill where I'm going to paradise, everybody else is going to hell. This is silly, myopic. This is not Islam. Islam is broad. People have variety of journeys towards Allah. There are those who reject Allah. There are those who pray all the time. But that doesn't make either side necessarily right or wrong. The journey is within the self, your understanding of God. And you and I are agents to say, we ourselves align ourselves towards God, and those around us, we will invite them. The moral component. When my parents wanted to migrate to America, my grandfather, my mother's father, was not pleased. Even my father's father was not pleased. They said, that's the land of kuffar. You may lose your iman there. True, it's a valid fear. But my parents were adamant, no. Our future is not here, we need to be elsewhere. Our kids' education needs to be elsewhere. We need to be somewhere else. And when they consulted the Quran said travel, but don't give up your faith. Go, siru fil ard, go, explore. Just don't give up your morals. And what a blessing. We arrived in America, there was no center, no masjid, no community. My father was the first person to recite Hadith Yasin, Hadith al-Kisa, and Dua Kumel. And the youth from our community who had completely gone astray were sitting and laughing at my father, telling him, what is this cryptic stuff you're reading? Then my uncle, who was a scholar, came and visited my mother's uncle, said, how do you get your meat? I said, well, we get it from the supermarket. He said, you cannot. You need halal slaughter. So we didn't know that. We're living in Dar es Salaam, you just buy from the butchery. You have no idea what's halal and haram, because we live in a cocoon. Everything is structured, you see? Everything is done for you. You go to the Husseiniya, when there's niyaz, you eat. You don't ask, where did you get the meat from? Because it's part of the system. There, no system. But where do you get this meat from? No, there's no shop. There's no Muslim. When I was in the 70s and I told my friends I'm Muslim, they said, what's a Muslim? Never heard of that word. They used to tell me, what's a Muslim? I used to tell them, I'm Muslim. What's a Muslim? Never heard of a Muslim. Today, everybody in the world knows what's a Muslim. It's amazing. And we used to go, my father and I used to go and slaughter the chickens ourselves. So they used to call us, oh, the halal family, you guys are halal. Our community used to laugh. So it's okay. Lakum dinukum waliya din. You do what you want. Today those same families will not touch any food but halal. So alhamdulillah, There was a movement. A community was started. Foundations were laid. Today, Ahlul Bayt is remembered. Prayers are being held. There are thousands and thousands of mosques across the United States. If you want to take it even further, the seat of Christianity, which is Rome, Italy, Rome, hundreds of churches are being rented today by Muslims for Jummah prayers. Hundreds of them. And the Roman Catholic Christians are annoyed why Muslims are renting churches. And their priests are saying, well, they're empty. The spiders are forming their webs. We might as well rent it. So that power of migration is incredibly good. That even in the Prophet's time, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib migrated to Abyssinia temporarily to seek refuge. And they affected the king of Najash, who was actually a Muslim, but within the Christian principles. That when he met Ja'far and when he spoke to the Muslim delegation, and when they recited the story of Isa being born, he was shocked. Notice that migration extended. Africa has the largest Muslim population among all the 5 continents. You would think it's Asia. No. The largest concentration of Muslims on a continent is Africa. And Africa was hardly touched by Muslims in terms of wars or conquering. Northern portion of it, a little bit Fatimids. Even then, it was more dialogue. East Africa, which is very strongly Muslim, if you look at actually just Tanzania, 55%, if not 60% is Muslim. They say 50-50, it's not, 60-40. If you go to Zanzibar, 95%. The Sultanate of Oman came in. It wasn't really through war, it was more through trade that Muslims, people became Muslims because of that. Now, that migration from India, the migration from Iran, has led to this movement. So I end with this, that when you go out there to study it. If you can get into Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Cambridge, any of these schools, get in there. But be careful. For if our concentration is purely academic, for career orientation at the cost of leaving our moral principles, then I don't think it's a good exercise, with all due respect. Bill O'Reilly was making $110 million a year. Harvey Weinstein, even more. Charlie Rose, Kevin Spacey. I can go on and on and on. Giants in the industry. All highly successful in the career, bankrupt in morality. And they're falling like flies. People don't even talk to them. Don't even look at them. America? Since when did America care so much about morality? We're a capitalistic system, aren't we? We have Citizen United. You know that? You know what Citizen United is? It's a corporation is seen as a person in the United States. You know that? A corporation is a person now. No morality, a beastly system that will eat you alive is an actual citizen in the United States called Citizen United. When did we care about morality? Although I must say America, I think, is much more morally conscious than the Europeans, with all due respect. We're still more careful with our dignity. Even the way our people dress in America is still better than in many places around the world. Alhamdulillah. But honestly, why is Bill O'Reilly falling? So what? He made a few incendiary comments against women. Now the Me Too movement took off and suddenly, this is, misogynism, where you're now belittling women. Good. We shouldn't. But what's the main point? He's a genius in what he does. He's smart. He knows how to amass hundreds of millions of people to follow him. He'll play with your mind. He's a master in what he does. But he lacks morality. You're bankrupt. I don't care if you're the best doctor in the world. You lack morals, you are a failure. So how about we make a pact to ourselves that, Ya Allah, I want to be the best in academics, I want to be the best in my career, but the foundation of myself and my career is God consciousness. Now you're a complete person. And very few people in the world are like that. Because power and wealth corrupts. So please be very careful. And God forbid, should we migrate, that we forget the roots of why we're doing what we're doing, so that our future generations understand the value of Islam and not be taken astray like what happened in Trinidad. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, thank you. One thing that I'm very grateful, even growing up in Dar es Salaam, in Zanzibar as a child, particularly Dar es Salaam, and I've mentioned this and people sometimes may misunderstand, but the madrasa system, while it's ritualistic, it's repetitious, it's rote memorization, has positive qualities to it. Let's not forget that part. It helped me a lot. While it was rote to me, it enabled me to process it later on in time, and I was able to sift the wrong teachings from the right teachings. But I can never say that that malim who taught me wrong, I can never say that was a bad malim. I can say that he had a good intention to teach me what he thought was right. And I think I should respect that. Being taught wrong is not necessarily an evil act. It's a good thing. But we should always be willing to accept change. So when I was in the university, particularly in high school, I was very indulgent in religious discussions. I was very opinionated, but rather not very public. The first time I actually publicly expressed my Islam was in 7th grade when I was 12 years old, when my teacher attacked Islam, and he was from the Jewish community. He was a my teacher, and he said Islam is a religion of terror. The Prophet would go door to door and cut people's head off if they didn't accept Islam. You know, it's a very violent religion. I mean, I'm in 7th grade as a 12-year-old, and I sit in class and I said, "What? What did you just say?" Like I was shocked in New York, you know. I raised my hand and I said, "Excuse me, I beg to differ. What are you talking about?" He says, "No, it is true." Now kids, you know, they love when there's a debate taking place in class. Yeah, he's got a point here. Like the kid doesn't know night from day, but you get the point. I said, "I'm Muslim, and I've never heard this before, and this is false." He said, "No, it's true." I said, "No, it's not true. And we're going to straighten this out in this class, and I'm not going to accept it until you get to this point." I mean, I think about it, so I don't know what gave me that fieriness, you know. I mean, I was just feisty. I looked, I said, "No, Mr. Birnbaum, I'm sorry. I will not accept this." He says, "Okay." Put his hand in his pocket. "You want to convince me wrong? You bring your books, I'll bring my books." I said, "Deal." I think that's a good start. Now, bear in mind, I haven't read any books on this issue, so I have absolutely no idea where I'm going with this, but my psyche tells me there's something wrong with this. I went home, and I remember I called a scholar who was writing a book, Sayyid Asghar Rizwi, who has written the Restatement of Islamic History. World Federation printed that book, The Whole Life of the Prophet. I called him, and I said, "Look, Sayyid, I've got an issue here. I need to defend this argument. I need your help." He says, "Yeah, no problem. You have a pencil? You have a pen?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Okay, write it down. Okay, Sir John Glubb, you know, chapter 9, page this, paragraph this, quote it." And he gave me a list of and he was just like a computer, you know, and he's just giving it to me like, "Man, this is great." So I wrote it, and then I went to the library, Elmhurst Library, which was like walking distance from my house. And they had a rare book section in the back. And it was like hardly anybody goes there. You can feel the mustiness, you know, nobody walks in there. There was an old lady. She was a librarian. And I went in and says, "I need these books." She said, "Son, what are you doing here with these books?" I said, "I have a debate." She said, "But these are..." I said, "I need these books." She said, "Yeah, they're up there." And subhanAllah, I got all the books. And I opened it up, and there it was. Sir John Glubb says, Muhammad was a man of peace and never spread the religion with the sword. You know, Sir William Muir, a famous historian who was very Islamophobic. He used to call Muslims Muhammadans. He wouldn't even call them Muslims. So Sir John Glubb, you know, Sir Muir, and you know, I started collecting this. And for the first time, I'm reading The story, look how Allah helps me now. He says, okay, you're in America, I'm going to teach you something. And you've got a person who's attacked you, but you stood up for it. What if you were quiet and let it pass? Then that opportunity would be a double prong, because the audience heard a wrong thing. They may become the president of a country tomorrow, and they may have hatred because of this false information. Don't you think you need to put a stop to this? That's the grace Allah gave us. When I went back, I took the books, I put it on his table, and he had no books. So I said, Mr. Birnbaum, where are your books? Well, okay, what's your point? I said, you know, sir, and I started reading. I said, you, Mr. Birnbaum, you are a Jewish man. You come from the Jewish background. You're a believer in Judaism. He said, you know the golden era for Jews is? Yeah, I know. I said, well, why don't you tell the class? I think it's very important. Because they need to know who was ruling you then in Spain, huh? You know, it was the Muslims who were ruling you. They weren't cutting your heads off. Queen Isabella came and cut your heads off after the Muslims were defeated. So I think you should say the right thing and stop attacking Islam. I said, here's the Time magazine, the fastest growing religion in the world, according to statistics, is Islam. You think these people are crazy? None of us have swords on our heads, you know? And by the way, the word sword doesn't even exist in the Quran. If my religion was spread with a sword, the word sword should be there. God should tell me how big it should be, and what material it should have, and how sharp it should be, and how many points it should have, and when should I cut and when should I not cut, when is mustahab to cut and when is haram to cut. So I just went on and on and on, and I just said, oh my God, this is great. You feel prosecutorial, you know, like, wow, I'm a prosecutor now. I says, okay, we get your point. I said, well, no problem. So then I went to 9th grade. I graduated from that school, because that school only had up to 9th grade. And I was moving to high school. And I had my gown. I graduated. And I'm walking in the corridor, and he was there. His door was open. He says, come here. He calls me. He says, you know, you insulted me. Now, this was 2 years ago. I said, Mr. Birnbaum, you insulted me. And I'm letting you know, don't ever make such statements, because there's always going to be a Muslim who's going to straighten you out. And stop spreading lies. I said, well, it was nice knowing you. And I walked away. 7th grade, subhanAllah. But really, my life changed when I was in the university. But that foundation from my parents, from my institution, while it was ritualistic, I was constantly thinking, why? Why this? Why not this? And then when I went to America, I was asked the right questions. People say, how did you become a follower of Islam? I said, the non-Muslims woke me up. They asked me the right questions. I always say when in public, I say atheists are sanitizers of religion. What do you mean? They remove barnacles. They ask questions you and I wouldn't dare ask. I like that. Some of us like think, oh my God, how can you ask such question? Astaghfirullah. Alhamdulillah, I've got an atheist who asked that question. Allah says, okay, answer him. You think your religion is so strong? Give him an answer. Oh, I can't, Allah. I trust you, I believe in you blindly, you know. I have total faith in you right here. Why? I don't know. Is that good iman? No. So when Christians, Jews, I used to have Christians come to my room. First day of university, I was in Colorado, I was on the Bible Belt. I don't know if you know what the Bible Belt is. There's a belt that crosses the southern part of the United States. It's very Baptist, very born-again Christian. It's what we call Church of Christ. They're very active, spreading Christianity across the entire Bible Belt. And when I first arrived, I said, I haven't seen any Muslim here. Predominantly white university, princes from Saudi Arabia, and all the wealthy would come to University of Colorado in Boulder. It's a beautiful campus. There's a fantastic, science program. That's why I went there. I'm a skier, perfect. I can go skiing in the backyard, go up the mountain, ski. I had the best of both worlds. But I was the only Muslim, I felt. And I remember my parents told me, go, but don't give up your iman. The same way we came from Africa, don't give up your iman. Establish something and watch how Allah takes you. And subhanAllah, I remember when I first arrived, I told my roommate, hey, that's my corner. We're in a triple. That's where I pray. I didn't have any shyness to tell him, what's your name? Oh, Harry, Harold, or Hank, or Haas. Why? Oh, I'm very shy to call like Muhammad, no, Mo. Ali, no, Al. Zainab. No, Jenny. Jenny. You know how many people call themselves Jenny when your name is Zainab? You know, we went to a camp, just a quick side note. We went to a camp in Lake George, New York. The chief chef was Greek, Christian. And our sisters and brothers were at the camp. And it was a weekend camp, and our sisters are playing basketball. You know, they're running up in hijab, and they're separate. And the boys were doing their own, but in a camp. This chef is watching us, and my mother used to direct him on how to cook, because it was a part of the Marriott system. So they won't let you touch the kitchen. But the chef would, I remember when I entered the first day, he said, hey, he was telling the Christian group, leave. The Muslims are coming. I don't want any meat here. I don't want any uncleanliness. The Muslims are coming. I need to purify this place. I said, wow, that's nice. This guy's a chief chef. He's giving us so much honor. I never spoke to him. Then the second to last day, he comes to me and says, I've been reading a lot about Islam, and I'm very impressed. And then there were girls outside the big window. You could see the lake. And there were girls, the Western girls were wearing T-shirts with very exposed, bodies. And he says, see, that is not good. Then he pointed to our sisters. That is good. That's noble. This is a Greek Christian telling me that's noble. Our sisters are asking, why should I be wearing this? Why? Here's a non-Muslim recognizing that's noble. He says, I've been studying. Can I join you guys for prayers today? I said, sure, we have Dhuhr prayers. You're more than welcome to join. He says, and by the way, don't get me wrong. I'm not being very reactionary. I've been studying your religion for a long time. But I think it's time. After what I saw you guys do, it's time. So I said, okay, you're welcome. He joined before he went to Salah, he says, no, I can sit in your prayers. No. I must pray. So I'm ready to do the Shahada right now. I want to do my Shahada right now. I want to do my Shahadatain right now, and I want to join your Salah. So he sat there, he did Shahadatain, and he joined Salah. And I swear it was the most incredible feeling. I looked at him and said, wow, we haven't preached to you. We haven't come knocking at your door. That's the power of Islam. He says, I have a 10-year-old, it was a 10-year-old daughter, and I'm divorced, so my daughter lives with me. Her name is Jenny, and I'd like her to be a Muslim. So I want her to join Islam. So the girl came, blonde-haired, blue-eyed little girl, and she did Shahada with her father. Then my mother said, I want to put a hijab on you. She said, yes, I'd love that. And then the father looked at my mother, what name should we give her? And my mother said, Zainab. And I chuckled. I said, in our community, Zainabs are becoming Jennies, and here Jennies are becoming Zainabs. What a world. Salawat ala Muhammad wa al Muhammad. Allah bless you, inshallah. Final point is, I know we're out of time, but when my roommates would watch me pray, the dating game, oh my God. First day of university, Ya Allah. Talk about the stock market. It's nothing. The dating game. It's like kids who are watched in high school are free. It's like senior prom. Senior prom is the first halal day you can halal with a girl. Although it's haram. Because now you've become, a man. And then the funny part is when they go to prom, they make it look like a wedding. I used to see them. They would wear corsage. They would wear gowns. I said, it's only a graduation, for God's sake. We just got a diploma from high school. It's not like we didn't conquer the moon, Okay, so we got a high school degree. No, this is very important. Limousines. Boys and girls bringing limousines, corsages. They're walking out, they're throwing, like they're getting married. I said, when did this happen? Oh, that's the fun part. She's just my date. She's not even your wife. Yeah, but that's... I said, oh my God. So we grew up in that culture. You understand? I went to university. I saw my roommate, who's a millionaire, doing cocaine every morning. Before he goes, he takes the glass, puts his powder. He's doing this, and he goes to class, and I'm watching him. Allah says, do you see this? This is what everybody wants. And you see that guy over there? And I was watching the first day, I remember the whole building was shaking Thursday night. Boom, boom, boom. So what's going on? Well, everybody's turning their speakers on, music. The whole building was shaking. I had 600 students living in one building, and the whole building is rattling. I said, Ya Allah, what is this? Like, my ears are hurting. Imagine the guy in that room. Problems. See, these people have problems. Then the beer, Ya Allah, I told you this, 50,000 gallons. I was shocked. I could fill a swimming pool every weekend. Beer, drink it like mad. And then the worst part is fraternity, sorority. They wear these t-shirts with Greek letters, you know. So if you're a girl who's blonde-haired, blue-eyed, whose father is rich, you're known as a tridel. Delta, delta, delta. So you'll see them wearing 3 triangles. You know she belongs in that club. And there is a subtle message. It's like a marketing strategy. I am of this type, looking for that type. And you find Delta Tau Delta are the rich male who now engage with this. So they walk with all these big Greek letters. And Allah said, you see this? You think they're smart? They have the biggest identity crisis. That they have to join these Greek groups, and they party, they drink, they do haram. But when you talk to them, no, we're a brotherhood, we're a sisterhood. I say, what's the goal of your sister? Oh, we help each other study. So I'm watching this. Believe me, I would have easily jumped into it if my religion foundation wasn't there. But the amazing fact was, when I looked at it, it was not attractive at all. And I thank Allah eternally. For what if it was attractive? So, just as a simple example, it's not beautiful. That madness of drinking, drugs, alcohol. Then they would have parties in the dorm. So some room, they would have parties. So no lights, glaring, music like crazy, dark, smoky. And they're all drunk. And they say, come over, come on. What's wrong with you? You're not joining our group. I said, no, I'm observing you guys. Why are you observing us? Come on, join us. I said, do what? Come and join us. Socialize with us. I said, how can I socialize? I can't see you. I can't hear you. And you won't understand what I say because you're drunk. So how can I socialize with you? You are totally nobody. Come and sit with me. Let's talk. Let's laugh. Let's eat. But you've got loud music. I can't hear you. It's dark. I can't see you. And your brain is not working. You want me to socialize? Shaitan says, that's exactly why I'm doing this. So they don't socialize. Because if they did, they may get consciousness. So Allah showed me those things. And over time, while I was challenged many a times, I prayed to Allah, Ya Allah, I'm depressed, I'm alone, I need an environment, I need a Muslim environment, I feel very deprived. I was so worried that first school year, I said, I don't know if I'm going to survive this madness. Like 6, 7 clubs on campus. This is norm across, even in Europe, you go, the club, the wildness is, that's why, like, I would be very cautious, especially for my daughter, to go into those environments, unless there's a controlled environment. Even for my son. If I had a son, I said, no, I'd monitor. But if I'm convinced that my child is capable of handling this, then I'd put them in any university. They'll come out shining like stars. So what I'm trying to say is, train them, make them very strong, then let them be independent. Otherwise, don't. They can get lost very easily. So there are lots of stories for me to tell you, but I prayed to Allah, and one Thursday, I went to the student lounge. There's a lounge for students. They hang out, they chill, and people sell stuff, you buy things. So I was looking at things, and there's a guy selling electronics, and I looked, and as I'm saying, so he says, can I help you? So when I looked up, I said, oh, you have a Persian accent. You're not from here. I said, no, I'm Iranian. Oh. He said, Shia? You're Shia? I said, yeah, I'm Shia too. Oh, nice, very nice. He looks at me and says, what are you doing tonight? I said, nothing, I'm bored. He says, we have Dua Kumail tonight. There's Dua Kumail in Colorado? There are Muslims here? I said, yeah. You want to come? I said, yeah, of course. He says, okay, I'll take you to Denver. We went to Denver, entered a house, 100 brothers. Bahrainis, Kuwaitis, Iranians, Iraqis, Pakistani, you name them, they were all there. Like, Salamu alaikum. I said, oh my God, this is incredible. So my life changed after that. In the university, I had a support system. These brothers were amazing. We had, while I was indulging in the normal day-to-day operations, I had a community that was very powerful, affected me in many, I cannot describe it. But I thank Allah that in the Rocky Mountain area, I have this community that we're still close to it until today. Some of them are professors at UPM, professors in top universities, very successful, even ambassadors to Kuwait, my roommates. Even Jawad Zarif, who was the foreign minister, was together in our circles, friends. We know each other. So Allah opens up ways and says, here, I'll put you in touch with people and your life will change. But you have to ask for it. What if I said, no, I'm happy to be in this madness, let me start indulging in drugs, and I'd be a disaster. So please, I advise us all, this is a community that believes in it strongly, but also understand why. If you do and you delineate yourself, then Allah will answer you. Even my roommate, Dave, who I mentioned many times in my lectures about prayer, and how he woke me up for salah, many of you have heard that. Until today, we communicate as friends. And he always respects me. He says, I respect you because you prayed. I respect you because I didn't see you fall for those traps. I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you had that strength. I said, my fasting and my religion taught me how to say no. When I was a teenager, I used to teach tennis in the intense heat. And my friends would say, come on, ice water, drink it. I said, no. I'm fasting. They said, how come? You should break your fast. You cannot. I said, no, I'm not thirsty. I'm fine. And that taught me that power of strength, to say no. We might think fasting is just a ritual. It's a great exercise in maintaining modesty. It's a long-winded answer, but I hope I made some sense to them, inshallah.
Right, sadly, unfortunately, we are running out of time. Shaykh has another commitment that he has to fulfill, so we'll have to say goodbye. But before we say goodbye to Shaykh, on behalf of everyone in this room, the organizers, with your permission, may I extend my sincere thanks and appreciation to you, Shaykh, for your time and most of all for your knowledge. Imam Ali says, the one who teaches me one letter or one word, I'm better doing for the rest of my life. The experience that you have shared here today, inshallah, will impact the lives of those embarking on this new journey. For those who are not going to university, these are not lessons for university only, but also for your day-to-day interactions and your day-to-day exercises.
Let me make a quick point here. Have a support system, even here, wherever you go. You go to university, find a support system. Find people of like-minded to support you in those communities. Don't just go wild, Have a support system. Look for the mosques. Look for where are the connections. Keep your deen, please. Very important. Otherwise, you'll get sucked into a black hole and you won't know how to get out. But also, simultaneously question your religion. Understand it. I went through a process in my life of deconstructing Islam, deconstructing myself, and reconstructing with the very foundational parameters of understanding. I used to go to Bible study twice a week in college. In my university, that same Christian group that used to come and knock on my door, I used to join them for Bible study. They really thought I'll become a Christian. I said, I need to know them better. But the more I asked them questions, the more they could not answer. The more it gave me the reality that these are good people, they have good hearts, but they are so misinformed, that God, I wish I could just embrace them with the truth. And some have, by the way, a good half a dozen of them woke up and said, you're right. This doesn't make sense. You're right. And they became muwahideen. They said, no, Christ is not the Son of God. We agree with that. So let's work in that direction. And I want to thank the Tabligh, for organizing this, for inviting my parents and I. and for the incredible hospitality that they have extended, particularly my brother Anwar Bimani, who's the owner of Tanzanite, who's been just fantastic in his hospitality and ensuring that we're very comfortable. And every one of you, those of you who've joined our camps in Bagamoyo as well as in Zanzibar, I truly feel blessed to have come close to you. And I hope this brotherhood continues to grow, where we affect each other's lives forever. Fi dunya wal akhirah. And inshallah we'll be together on Judgment Day in the high stations when the Prophet will call us, inshallah. That's the kind of friendship I like to keep. I don't believe in short-term friendships. Sisters too, those of you who participated in our Zanzibar camp, and those of you who have not, those of you who have been attending lectures, my prayers are for your success, honestly. And I really, really pray that you will achieve high stations in this world and in the next with tranquility and success. And we must pray for each other. This world is not an easy place to live. It's a very slippery place. And many trials and tribulations await us. But if we hold on to each other with sincerity, we will reduce the damage. So I really sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, I know our brother Ali Uza, as you know, he has come all the way from Michigan to be with us, and he has really bonded with a lot of the brothers in a beautiful way. And he's amazing. I mean, he'll go into villages with Africans, and he'll go into their homes, and they'll welcome him, and he sits and takes videos, you know, and he's posting it, and I think a lot of people are seeing fantastic results with that. That's what Islam is about. Go out and explore, get to know the beauty of the world. So he becomes a spokesman and tells people in America, there's a beautiful community in Tanzania, go and visit it, and let the Tanzanians come and visit us. That cross-exchange is how we network and expand our iman, inshallah. Okay, I want to really thank you very much, brother, for your wonderful program. And Brother Hassan, thank you so much, and your team. Thank you for putting this together. Dr. Imran, I have to mention you, because God forbid on Judgment Day, I have a complaint. Really, it's an honor to have Dr. Imran with us. He was with me in Bagamoyo as well as in Zanzibar. And really, he was that spirit of the camp. And I cannot thank Allah enough for this golden opportunity to have met you, and to, inshallah, many more future endeavors ahead, inshallah. Thank you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.